Then he looks away. He starts falling in. And what's his reaction? Lord, save me. Right. And that's what we're all supposed to do. Right. Now, when Jesus grabs Peter and Peter's hugging him and Peter's going, I'm so sorry. Don't let me go. Don't let me go. This is the only time in this show that I've ever seen that I had a deep emotional response to. So what this did was 5 years ago, right? It's 2023. So back in 2018, 5 years ago, credit to the Mormons, this scene was done extremely well. All right, chill out the comments for a minute. So 5 years ago, I come back to the church, and my wife doesn't come in with me. Like, this is a really tense situation going on in my marriage. Things got so bad between us that I had to leave my home for a couple of weeks and go stay with my mother. Now, this is right after my conversion, and I'm like, I've come to God, and my wife hasn't, and my life is falling apart, like literally falling apart, in shambles. My marriage is on the verge of falling. Like I thought my marriage was going to end over me coming back to God, and my wife was just in a totally different place than me. I'm living with my mother for like weeks, and I remember sitting at Holy Innocents in Manhattan, sitting before the crucifix and bawling my eyes out in anger at God. Like, is this what you brought me back to you for? Like, is this what I get? Like, I come back to you, like, I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to fix everything. And my whole life is falling apart. Within 2 weeks of that instance, my wife winds up having like a major conversion, right? And I remember going back to Holy Innocents and weeping tears of joy and begging God to forgive me for ever doubting him, and just begging him, please don't let me go. There was such a connection of my experience in my marriage, almost, and like you're dealing with Peter almost losing his marriage, like things are really bad. He's really angry with God, and then all of a sudden Jesus saves him. And when Jesus was holding him in his arms and he was just weeping uncontrollably, just like, Lord, don't let me go. Don't let me go. Like, I could not help but just choke. Like, I had to actually pause the show and just like, I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, we forget those times where we think God is totally absent from our lives. And meanwhile, he's there holding us the whole time. And he's got a plan that you just can't see yet. And you only see it in hindsight later on, but you just don't know what God's plans are in the moment.
Well, and what does Jesus tell Peter in the show that was really a gut punch? And I can't remember exactly how it was, but it's like where Jesus tells Peter, I put you through trials so you're ready, to come to me, or however he words it. And I thought that was good because, like you said, a lot of times when we're in trials, especially when they're quite difficult, we seem to blame God and say, why me? And then on the latter side of that trial, almost all the time you say,
man,
God,
that trial
God
is what
did
brought
good.
me closer to God. It's like,
Yep.
It's like we forget. It's like you got to realize
it's easier said than done too. Way easier said than done.
When times are good, you're not leaning on God nearly as much. Like, everything's going fine. It's like you're not. But when tragedy hits,
that's why, when they talk about the rich man, it's harder for a rich man to go through the how does
the eye of a needle than a camel. It's easier for a rich man to get. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go into heaven.
Yeah, because of that. Because when you're living in luxury and ease, a lot of times we tend to forget about God because we think we've got it made, and of course that's not the case for all. There's a lot of good, wealthy, faithful Catholics and stuff like that, but it's harder to remain faithful with a life of ease.
Yeah, so like, think about this comment. This is why I said when I texted the Telegram earlier, I was like, this show, I hate to love it. It's like, I hate that I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of cringe in the show, but those powerful moments are really powerful, man.
Yeah, here's the thing though. They created a season-long fictional storyline to blatantly like emotionally manipulate you to have the reaction you
That's
did.
not emotional. But Rob, what is a story?
It is too emotional manipulation.
But what is a story? Like you watch a good movie and you weep.
This is the gospel that they're portraying.
It's the greatest story ever told. And they're
this one they're doing the gospel by Dallas Jenkins.
Why don't you look at it as an allegory instead of the gospel?
Yeah, but I don't think the chosen and I don't think the chosen and well, I mean, you can make the same argument against the mystics as well. Well, it's not scripture, right?
At least they were Catholic.
Well, yeah, that's true. They are that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that Dallas Jenkins and the producer of The Chosen ever make the claim or would make the claim that the scenes with Peter and his wife were scripture.
They're not scriptural.
But they've got to fill in the blanks. Is their
and this is what's making the story a little bit. Look,
it's relatable.
It's relatable. It's putting a little bit of flavor into a story. We all know, look, if you want the gospel, go read the gospel. But there's something about this story that's showing these encounters with Christ that they're setting them in the first century, but they're very modern for people that are struggling with a lot of the issues that we're struggling with today. So it's kind of like an updated telling of the story. And I don't mind it as much as Rob. I get what you're saying. That's emotional manipulation, but every good movie is emotional manipulation. They're always trying to get you to have